one of our greatest moments as a club is based on a collapse in the second half by what was at the time one of the best teams in the world. Period. So, like, it can happen to anybody. Hopefully we don't go the same way as AC Milan, but
that Porto team was good.
So, the last thing I want to bring up about the Leicester game is Klopp's comments afterwards. He said something along the lines of the league title is now out of reach. And I could have saved this for a later segment, but let's just touch quickly. Are you guys okay with him saying that?
Yeah.
Or would you rather him say something like, listen, it's going to be really difficult, we're going to work hard, but we know where we are right now?
If I'm being honest, I could be wrong, because I remember in 2017, it was the year after Chelsea had won the Premier League, Antonio Conte, who was manager of Chelsea at the time, said pretty early on, when Man City was that was the season they did their century, they said pretty early on, like, I can see the Premier League title, it's not going to repeat. I was actually very surprised Pep didn't do it last year. And I think there's two arguments to it. Like, yeah, okay, it's a bit of a weak move if you're a competitor. Like, you should always think that you're in it. But I also think it's kind of a courtesy. You know, like, I think whether you're a Premier League team or maybe a president, you know, conceding defeat it tends to be the proper thing to do. And I think I'm all for it because I think Klopp's just being very realistic. He's looking at the math. He sees the same things we're seeing.
We run the table, we get 81 points right now.
Yeah, and then, like, do you really think City, the way that they're playing, are going to collapse? So, I mean, like, I think it's just being realistic. And I personally appreciate that because I think realism is always kind of refreshing.
It's healthy.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, I think I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I mean, what I will say is that I more or less agree. I think it is a case where it's kind of in keeping with how Klopp has talked about the title every year except for last year, where it's kind of like, I don't want to talk about the title. I don't want to talk about whether or not we're in a race.
Didn't want it anyway.
Giant middle finger to the journo who asked him in that moment. You know, you have that performance in a week where we found out that he's not going to be able to go to his mother's funeral. You know, just like the man is like obviously having a bit of a moment here, and that's the thing that you're asking. Like, you're like, just like, fuck you, guy.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
The man is obviously so driven by emotion, right? Like that's who Jurgen Klopp is, and that's what we love about him, right? Like, so that's a thing that we absolutely love about Jurgen and how he manages and how he behaves on the touchline. He hasn't had the crowd for most of the season. Like, we had those glorious 6 weeks or whatever it was.
We were playing really well.
Exactly,
we were playing really well, yeah.
And then on top, like, to add on top, like, he's missing his fans, which I think those, like, it means a lot to him. Yeah. Obviously, like, misses out on his mother dying, being able to go to that funeral. And, you know, I can say as like somebody who's missed pretty significant funerals in his life, it sucks. And then add on to that, like, you know, there's all these questions about, like, oh, is the title gone? Well, like, we probably weren't going to win the title anyhow this year, guys. Like, calm down. Like,
yeah. I think it makes a good soundbite, you know. I think, but I will say, if we can, like, switch to a different news conference or interview, which happened today, when Klopp and Henderson at Kirkby did their press conference. I don't know if you guys watched it, but I got to say,
I missed it. You were telling about it earlier.
It filled me with a little more confidence. It seems like, you know, obviously there were some extremely fraudulent rumors that Klopp had resigned or was going to resign or he was going to get fired. All sorts of absolute bullshit. But no, he said, like, yeah, I'm obviously having a tough time, but I'm feeling good. I'm full of energy. I'm ready to go. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but I watched clips of the press conference, and it kind of fired me up. It kind of got me feeling good. I feel like we got a new team that's headed to Budapest to play Leipzig, and yeah, I'm feeling good.
And I'm hoping that the Champions League is the start of a new team. Kabak got some minutes in there. Davies is fitting right in as he's injured, apparently.
I think he's
a slight knock.
He's traveling with them, so I think he's.
I kind of hope we'll touch base on the Leipzig game briefly right now, because by the time this airs, the game will probably be over. But I would love to see Kabak starting, and maybe even Phillips or somebody other than Hendo. Well, get Hendo back up in the midfield.
Kabak and Thiago start. They're playing their old opposition. Well, I mean, seriously, like, you know, who else knows RB Leipzig better than two guys who just finished playing in the Bundesliga?
Absolutely. And, you know, you add into honestly, I would start at the back. This may sound weird to you guys. I would start Ozan Kabak, and I would start Reece.
Reece Williams? Maybe.
He had a lot of success in the Champions League in the group stages. Now we're into the knockout stage. This is different. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But it's a weird like confidence of like, listen, you've been my guy in Europe. It's time to step up again. Like,
one of the things that I was listening to ESPN FC Stewart, somebody, I can't remember his last name. Anyway.
How's Pulisic doing? Yeah.
They didn't talk about him, don't worry. But he brought up a lot of things that I've been saying was the formation needs to change because the defense is just suspect now, and Trent and Robbo are not, they're not defensively sound enough. Robbo maybe is, Trent definitely not. And one of the proposals was going to the 3-4-3 with basically 3 center backs. And if you put Kabak, even Reese or Phillips, and Hendo playing slightly ahead of them, kind of like in the Fabinho role basically, and then have Trent and Robbo run in the wings, you might be able to get away with a 3-4-3 setup going on there. So I would like to see Klopp take the Champions League as a new season and to get this team going. So hopefully we'll see that, and I'll be at the pub tomorrow despite the freezing rain, sleet, crap weather we got coming in there.
No, but I would like to, now that we're done kind of that Champions League talk up there, I would like to introduce my new segment, Europa League Team of the Week, because, guys, we just got to start familiarizing ourselves with what will likely be our future, and in my opinion, hopefully...
Pessimistic, man. Jesus.
I'm a big Thursday guy over here. Ludogorets Razgrad. They're Bulgarian champions. Their kit is all green, which I think is pretty cool, and their crest has a dope-ass eagle on it. Personally kind of worried about these guys next year, so let's keep an eye on them.
All right. So that'll be our future competitors in the Europa League. For that Leicester game, our predictions, we were all well off. We all had wins and a draw by Ben. But we missed out on that, so no points around. And we've been doing pretty bad lately. Got one of this, guys. The rest of the league. So quick recap of the rest of the Premier League. A couple of big games. City dominated Spurs, like, handily. And as much as I love to see Mourinho lose, it's even if it's City, I still like seeing that too. Arsenal took on Leeds. So
that was pretty entertaining because... Arsenal went up 4. They started to collapse, and Leeds couldn't even do that right.
Oh, man.
I just look forward to Leeds being in the relegation battle that they should have been in this year, next year.
Yeah.
You never know. There's still 14 games left. We'll see what happens with the boys at the bottom there. What are the big games in there? United. Man U drew against West Brom.
Wow, imagine drawing against West Brom.
Who would have thought?
How embarrassing.
And then Everton dropping to Fulham.
Yeah.
Man. Listen, this is like I remember thinking to myself, like, when Everton managed to get Don Carlo in, like, what the hell is Carlo Ancelotti doing at Everton? Well, it's ending his career, let's be honest.
Hey, they came out flying for a while, and I just remember we had 3 games this season where it was the top 2 teams playing each other. It was us against Spurs, us against Everton, and us against United.
Were we all together to recap or even like touch on that FA Cup game? Everton versus Spurs?
I don't think we touched on it.
Oh, no.
Oh, because, that was an Ancelotti.
Actually, yeah.
The 5-4 Ancelotti versus Mourinho, that was like... Yeah, I think you're right, John. Like, he looked like he'd aged 20 years, which for Ancelotti is a problem.
Yeah, he already looks 20 years older than he is.
So he's basically in the ground already
exactly.
then? All right.
He looks like Rudy Giuliani now.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but I think the funniest thing to come out of the rest of the Prem was definitely Harry Maguire after their draw against.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I was hoping we'd talk about this.
That interview was great. I think my highlight was no one expected us to go to West Brom and get more than 10 opportunities, despite the last 6 teams to go to West Brom have had more than 10 opportunities, and then also calling out certain clubs. Because they brought up how United get easy calls, and all of a sudden the refs are against them.
Yeah, blamed Jurgen Klopp for VAR issues that United's having. Come on, bro. Imagine we were talking about this. I think I may have even brought it up last week. We were talking about this. This is a guy that they made their captain. They made him their captain. Like, okay, they spent.
Well, he's the best defender in the world.
They spent a lot of money on him,
and
therefore he's the best.
Yeah,
exactly. And I understand that, but like that would be like if we had like gone ahead and made Thiago our captain this year. Like, it just doesn't make sense, bro. Like,
it'd be like when the Canucks made Mark Messier their captain. A little bit of a throwback.
I was just reading that story the other day.
That's a good one.
That's always a fun one.
A little bit of hockey reference there.
That's it. Well, hey, and you know what? Liverpool lost, but guess what? Sens won, Islanders won, and the Habs won all weekend. So we got at least a win here, boys. At least one there. I'll take that. Even if the Sens are at the bottom of the league. That's okay, though, buddy.
You know what?
Rebuild.
It's been a rebuild my entire life.
That's okay. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for the Premier League there. Let's start off. Let's actually check in on some of the transfer talk. I mean, the window's closed, but there's always rumors out there on what could have been, what should have been. And I'm still hearing a lot more, or I shouldn't say a lot more, at least a couple references to Liverpool being in on other center backs. There was a guy from Torino and a couple others that I keep hearing about. And it's a simple, quick question right now. I mean, we got Ben Davies, we got Ozan Kabak, Matip, if he ever gets healthy, Gomez and Van Dijk, barring some career-ending injury, they should be back next season. Do we need another center back? Are we looking into this for any specific reason?
I don't think we do. I mean, honestly, we got, in my opinion, two of the best center backs. I know there's a lot of debate on this, but I do think
who's number two?
Well, I do think Joe Gomez is a world-class center back. He represents his national team, ergo world-class. So does Shaqiri. So we've got nothing but a team of world-class players. So I don't think we do because okay. So Kabak had a rough go on his debut, but that's to be expected. And I would like us to keep Kabak. So then going forward, we'll have Gomez and Van Dijk as our starters. And then we have the option of Matip, Kabak, and Ben Davies on the bench to come on if needed, or if we got to rest one of the guys. So
you didn't even touch on our lumberjack. We got Nat Phillips and Reece Williams with still room to grow. I mean,
I think we're gonna loan out Reece Williams. At least that's what I would do in that situation. But,
probably at that point.
You're right. Nat Phillips is there too. So no, I don't think we need any more. I think it's all things being equal, it's a pretty overcrowded center back room there.
A little bit. We end up in a Dejan Lovren situation there, possibly.
I kind of disagree. I would rather have the players in. I'd rather over prepare and then sell people off. If it is a situation where we are satisfied with the and successful with the center backs that we currently have, then okay, great, fine. But we're not going to run into a situation like we have this season again, right? It's a problem that we had from the outset was we did not replace Dejan Lovren. We did not replace our fourth choice center back. In fact, our de facto fourth choice center back became our third choice center back, and our fourth choice center back ended up being both of our top midfielders. I'd rather us explore the options in the market and improve from a position of strength.
Only problem there is players want to play, and if you've got 6 center backs, not all of them are going to play, and you still got to pay them. And FSG is not going to pay for people when they're not playing or they're not helping the team. So it's a delicate balancing act for sure, and that's why I think it was so hard to bring in a suitable center back as well as anybody up front. I mean, any proper world-class striker is not really going to want to come into Liverpool because are you going to knock out Firmino, Mane, and Salah? Unless you are the best in the world.
Here's the thing. I think that any sort of attacking player or any world-class center back is going to take a look at our front three. And I think that that's what happened with the likes of Diogo Jota. I think he's going to look at our front three and say, you're, 28, and 29, or whatever their ages are. You don't have, you got a few years, but you don't necessarily have that many years, as many years as I do at the top of my game. I can replace you.
And I'm going to stop you right here, John. I'm going to stop you right.
Replace you.
Is Diogo Jota, was he a world-class striker when we signed him? And let's be honest, I barely knew anything about him.
He's world-class in that he represents Portugal. So checkmate.
Can't argue that there. But no, your point's very valid. A person like Jota is perfect. A young, up-and-comer, got something to prove, and thinks he can knock somebody out of the lineup, which he essentially did, and I think he will do again. But if you want a world-class, world-beater, top of the Lewandowski, you want to bring him in? Yeah, no, he's going to be like, all right, well, either I'm coming in and I'm playing every game, or I'm not coming.
Okay, fair enough. I don't think, though, that we're in for, we're not in for Kaidu Koulibaly right now.
We're in for Mbappe, apparently, every week.
the Nike money is what it is.
But thank you, LeBron.
Come on, LeBron, get in on it.
But we're not in for Kaidu Koulibaly, but we're in for players who have got to be looking at Joe Gomez and saying, "Listen, buddy, you've been really good." And I think he's a phenomenal defender, and I think he's an ideal partner for Van Dijk.